MJ-12, the hidden hands behind the deep state. They didn't just cover up Roswell, they created the cover-up industry. Majestic 12 isn't just a shadow group. It's the blueprint for every black project since 1947. And you've never voted for a single one of them. The documents were stamped top secret, magic eyes only. The committee was authorized by President Harry Truman, and for over 75 years, its existence has been denied, ridiculed, or buried beneath layers of misdirection. Today, we're not just exposing a secret government group. We're pulling back the veil on a power that rewrote modern history. Because if MJ-12 is real, then everything you thought about the deep state is decades behind the truth. It started with a crash. July 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. A mysterious object falls from the sky, first reported as a flying disc, then quietly changed to a weather balloon. The shift took just one day, but it triggered a response that would define the next century. In the wake of Roswell, something changed inside the U.S. government. Not just a cover-up, a reorganization. A secret executive memo, dated September 24, 1947, allegedly signed by President Truman, created Majestic 12, a group of elite scientists, military leaders, and intelligence chiefs tasked with handling non-human technology. 12 men, absolute secrecy, unlimited funding, zero accountability. The names read like a who's who of Cold War power. Vannevar Bush, Rear Admiral Roscoe Hillenkoetter, first CIA director, James Forrestal, Secretary of Defense, who would commit suicide just months later, Dr. Donald Menzel, an outspoken UFO debunker who secretly worked for the NSA. Others were pulled from the Manhattan Project. Nuclear physicists, aerospace engineers, CIA operatives, all sworn to silence under the pretext of national security. But their real mission? Reverse engineer the impossible. Study biological entities. Control the narrative. MJ-12 operated under a subclearance of top secret. Codename Magic. Higher than the president. Higher than Congress. Files marked Magic Eyes Only could not be legally requested, even under FOIA. One insider once said, "If you're reading this, and it isn't your job to, you've already broken the law." The infrastructure of Majestic 12 would bleed into other classified programs. Project Sign, Project Grudge, Project Blue Book. But those were just decoys, designed to study sightings, while MJ-12 studied the craft. MJ-12's transformation into a shadow infrastructure still exists today. Look at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the supposed home of Hangar 18, where alien bodies and craft were stored post-Roswell. Not just debris, but whole, intact ships. And something else, recovered biological entities. This is where MJ-12 is said to have built its first subterranean vaults. Then there's Area 51, originally just a test site for the U-2 spy plane. But witnesses reported disc-shaped craft being tested there by the 1950s. Some described propulsion systems with no visible exhaust, gravity manipulation, and materials that responded to thought. Another site, less known, more feared, Dulce Base, New Mexico. According to whistleblower Phil Schneider, MJ-12 oversaw genetic experiments in joint operations with non-human entities, underground labs, human test subjects, and interdimensional tech decades ahead of anything above ground. Schneider died in 1996, officially suicide. He was found with a rubber catheter wrapped 3 times around his neck. He had no fingers to tie it. MJ-12 understood early. The truth must not just be hidden, it must be discredited. Enter Operation Mockingbird, the CIA's infiltration of newspapers, television, and academia. But deeper still, MJ-12 allegedly funded key UFO debunkers. Dr. Donald Menzel, MJ-12 member, spent decades ridiculing UFO witnesses in public, while briefing presidents in private. Richard Doty, an FOSI agent, confessed to feeding fake documents to civilian researchers. One target, Paul Benowitz, was driven to a mental breakdown after MJ-12 operatives convinced him aliens were invading. It was never about the truth. It was about control. Then came Bob Lazar. 1989. He went public with claims that he worked at S4, south of Area 51, on reverse engineering 9 recovered saucers. He described gravity wave propulsion, a reactor powered by a then unknown element, Element 115. At the time, critics scoffed. In 2003, Element 115, moscovium, was synthesized in a lab. Lazar's records from Los Alamos and MIT vanished, but he passed polygraphs, and multiple insiders confirmed his facility badge format and floor plan. If Lazar lied, why erase his existence? The NSA wasn't just built to intercept Soviet comms. Its original directive, according to insiders, included extraterrestrial signal analysis. The NSA's top clearance, Q clearance, overlaps with nuclear and non-terrestrial data. The theory, MJ-12, helped design the surveillance infrastructure that would eventually lead to classified surveillance projects like Echelon, Prism, and Five Eyes. Every phone call, every email, monitored, not for terrorism, for pattern recognition. What if the NSA isn't looking for humans, but for anomalies? Look at the seals on Majestic documents, the trident, the all-seeing eye, the 13 stars. Now consider this. MJ-12's inner circle shared more than military clearances. They were Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Skull and Bones. Some insiders allege MJ-12 coordinated with the Vatican Astronomical Council to study foreign intelligences. Mount Graham Observatory, the Vatican's advanced LUCIFER telescope, pointed at deep space objects with high infrared signatures. What exactly were they watching? The MJ-12 documents surfaced in 1984. A film reel was anonymously delivered to researcher Jaime Shandera. Inside, microfilm of presidential memos, briefing papers, and orders forming MJ-12. Skeptics called it a forgery, but several signatures matched known presidential handwriting. The formatting aligned with real military briefings. And later, FOIA releases indirectly confirmed portions of the text. The FBI launched an investigation, but instead of calling it fake, they simply wrote, "Unauthorized disclosure of classified information." That's not denial. That's confirmation by silence. James Forrestal, original MJ-12 member, died in 1949 after a mental breakdown. He was thrown, or jumped, from the 16th floor of Bethesda Naval Hospital. He was writing a tell-all journal before his death. The journal vanished. Colonel Philip Corso, author of The Day After Roswell, claimed he distributed alien tech through civilian corporations. Fiber optics, Kevlar, integrated circuits, all supposedly seeded into industry with no context. He died of a sudden heart attack 2 years after his book launched disclosure efforts. Gary McKinnon, British hacker, claimed to find a list of non-terrestrial officers and fleet-to-fleet transfers on U.S. military servers. The U.S. tried to extradite him for a decade. What are they so afraid we'll find? Today, MJ-12 doesn't need to meet in secret bunkers. Its functions are compartmentalized across DARPA, the CIA, NRO, and private contractors. Black budget programs exceed $60 billion annually. That's more than the entire FBI UAP disclosure in 2020 was theater, a controlled leak. The task force was never given full access because MJ-12's successors operate with unacknowledged special access programs, USAPs, beyond oversight, beyond democracy, beyond government. Former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe admitted, "Some things we just can't release to the public." But why? MJ-12 wasn't a committee. It was a model, a method for hiding world-changing truths behind bureaucracy, ridicule, and silence. They blurred the lines between science fiction and classified fact. They engineered belief systems. They buried technology. They redefined secrecy. And most of all, they taught the government how to lie. Forever. The truth isn't out there. It's buried here. Inside black sites, under concrete, behind redacted pages. But now we know what to look for, because if MJ-12 was real, then every denial since 1947 was part of the lie. Majestic 12 invented disinformation tactics, and someone, somewhere, is still keeping it alive. Please like and share if you enjoyed this.